Hello everyone, I hope you guys are fine. Myself Vinita Tiwari and welcome to my YouTube channel Learn Life Science. So, in today's lecture, I'm going to give you a detailed information regarding phytohormone ethylene about its mode of action, and in further upcoming videos, I'm going to tell you about the signaling process of ethylene, and further videos I'm also going to discuss regarding other hormones, other phytohormones, and this video will be more beneficial for the one who is targeting for CSIR net examination or one who is preparing for some plant physiology syllabus. Okay, so let's get started. So generally ethylene are considered as a simple gaseous hormones. As you can see here, they are generally present in gaseous form, and if you will see the product of ethylene in market, you will observe that there is ethylene glycol, or there is ethylene cylinders that are available in market. Okay, so it is generally produced in response to stress, also in response to ripening, and also when high concentration of oxygen is supplied to plant tissues. Okay, so these three things is very much important for you to remember, that ethylene is produced primarily in response to stress. Okay, stress means what? Plant stress like drought conditions, salinity conditions, or other environmental conditions. Okay, second thing is that it is produced very commonly during the ripening process, or I must say ethylene is involved also in the major reactions that are involved in ripening. Okay, and the third thing, that is when a high concentration of oxygen is applied to plant tissues, ethylene is produced in high amount. Okay, so this point also I'm going to discuss further. Now next is given that ethylene occurs in all plant organs as I've enlisted here, but its production varies with the stages of development of the plant as well as tissue to tissue within the plant organs. Okay, most frequently you will observe it in the peripheral tissues. Okay, next thing is that in peach and avocado seeds you will see that the production of ethylene appears to be primarily in the seed coat. Okay, it's a general information. And then, as we know, ethylene is a gaseous cup product. It is released through the plant into the atmosphere, and therefore it is also considered as a pollutant, and considered therefore as a volatile organic carbon with respect to environment. Okay, now the next thing that occurs, that I've told you, that ethylene is produced when high concentration of oxygen is supplied to plant tissues. Okay, and how this thing is proved. Okay, so here one statement is mentioned that in E. coli carrying the cloned ACC synthase gene, physical abundance of ACC synthase mRNA also increase in response to IAA and wounds. Now what this sentence actually means. Okay, so before going into that, you should know a concept behind this thing. Okay, so generally ACC is the precursor of ethylene. Okay, ACC means what? 1-amino-cyclopropane carboxylic acid. So it is the precursor of ethylene. It is converted into ethylene by the enzyme ACC synthase. Okay, so we all know for the enzyme to be produced, it is converted from the mRNA, or I must say it is translated through mRNA, and the mRNA is transcribed through its gene. Okay, what I'm trying to say, that the gene is transcribed into mRNA, then it is further translated into the enzyme, and the enzyme catalyzes the reaction. But what happens in plant, ethylene is present mostly in very low concentration. Okay, and this is because the gene to mRNA is regulated. Okay, as you can see here, the transcription is actually regulated. Okay, as you can see here, the regulation is at transcriptional level. There are certain proteins or inhibitors present in the plant tissue that inhibits this reaction, and therefore less amount of ACC synthase is present, and therefore less conversion of ACC to ethylene occurs. Okay, now what's given in this point is that due to the low concentration of ethylene in plant cells, scientists tried to clone the gene, that is ACC synthase gene, into a suitable vector and introduce into the host cell. Okay, so host we have taken here E. coli. Okay, and after the expression of E. coli, after the expression of ACC synthase mRNA into E. coli, you will observe that ACC is present in high amount. Also, it is converting into ethylene. But scientists also tried to study on the factors that influences ethylene production. For example, they tried to expose the bacterial cells to indole acetic acid, that is an auxin, and they found that in the presence of auxin, the ethylene production is much higher. Okay, and also it is known that in response to plant wounds, the ethylene concentration is much more higher. Okay, so this is what this thing means. Okay, this point. Moving next. So now I am going to start regarding the synthesis of ethylene from the amino acid methionine. Okay, so before getting into this, you should know a little history regarding ethylene. Okay, so ethylene is a gaseous component, and before 1960s it was very difficult to tackle out with the structural properties regarding its nature in plants. Okay, so until early 1960s, in early 1960s, when advanced technologies came into existence, gas chromatography made it possible to analyze ethylene at active concentration. Okay, until that there was no advanced technology through which we can determine its structure or its nature, its chemical properties. Okay, and after its analysis in 1964, scientists Lieberman and Mapson proved that methionine is converted into ethylene. Okay, the first thing that is proved that methionine is converted into ethylene. Moving further, in 1977, two scientists Adams and Young demonstrated that S-adenosylmethionine is an intermediate in the conversion of methionine to ethylene. Okay, and further in 1977, Adams and Young again demonstrated that there is accumulation of ACC in apple tissues under anaerobic conditions, such conditions that inhibit ethylene production. Now, what does this mean? As I have told you, ACC, that is one amino cyclopropane carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acid is the precursor of ethylene. Okay, and when there is anaerobic conditions, when you provide anaerobic condition to the plant, for example, here we have taken apple tissues, then there is accumulation of ACC. Okay, the precursor is accumulated, but when you reintroduce oxygen, it will cause overconversion or cause conversion of ACC to ethylene. Okay, this means what? Ethylene production requires oxygen, it requires perfect aerobic conditions. Okay, so you can also see one thing here, that it took 1960 to 1970, around 20 years to study on ethylene mechanism as well as its synthesis. Okay, now we switch on to the pathway of ethylene synthesis. Okay, so the first thing is the substrate, that is methionine. Okay, methionine, as we all know, is a amino acid with a sulfur group. Okay, and the first enzyme that is involved in the catalysis is SAM synthetase. Okay, as here is present synthetase means what? There is involvement of ATP. Okay, so S-adenosylmethionine synthetase catalyzes the conversion from methionine to S-adenosylmethionine. The second enzyme that is involved is ACC synthase, which converts S-adenosylmethionine. It breaks down S-adenosylmethionine into 5-methyl thioadenosine and ACC. Okay, moving further, the third enzyme ACC oxidase converts ACC into ethylene. Okay, so you can see the CH2 group all over here, that is our ethylene group. Okay, now one more important thing that happens here is that sulfur is present in really minimum concentration, or I must say methionine is present in very limited concentration in plants. Okay, and therefore what plants do, they recycle the methionine. Okay, and this recycling process of the sulfur group or the methionine molecule is done by this Young cycle. Okay, so let's study about the Young cycle. In Young cycle, you will see that the S-adenosyl methionine breakdown product 5-methyl thioadenosine is converted into 5-methyl thioribose. Okay, here the adenine group is removed and the remaining ribose sugar is still attached to the sulfur group. The next step in the presence of oxygen and the release of carbon dioxide gets our methionine. Okay, we get our methionine on this oxidative reaction and decarboxylation reaction. Methionine is recovered. Okay, so you can see that the Young cycle for sulfur recovery is highlighted in orange, this orange part. So you should always remember that in ethylene you are always going to deal with Young cycle, or if there is any question regarding Young cycle, you should always remember that they are talking regarding our ethylene. Okay, now moving next, the functions of ethylene. Okay, the first function is regarding abscission. Okay, so we all know abscission is the shedding of leaves or flowers. When there is winter conditions or cold treatment or drought conditions, it induces the formation of abscission layer in the stalks of leaves, flowers and fruits. What does it actually means when the conditions are some type stressful conditions, or you can say extreme cold? There is a formation of abscission layer, okay, near the stalk. Okay, and what happens here, the said structure gets separated from the body wall because of the death of the present cells right there. Okay, actually what happens here, ethylene induces the differential gene expression. Means what? Ethylene induces the expression of various genes that are involved in degradative process. For example, pectinase and cellulase enzymes are synthesized in the presence of ethylene that causes degradation of such cells. Okay, as you can see here, the cells get degraded due to such enzymes. Okay, and once the cells get degraded, it causes the shedding of that leaf. Okay, one more important thing is that when high concentration of oxygen is present in the plant cell or plant leaves, it prevents the abscission, it causes the abscisive zone to be insensitive to ethylene. Means what? When high concentration of oxygen is present, the abscission zone is insensitive to ethylene. Okay, but when the oxygen concentration lowers down, the ethylene that is already present get acts on the abscission zone. Because when oxygen is in lower concentration, means what, the abscission zone is now sensitive to ethylene, and now the reaction occurs and it gets shedded out. Okay, so I hope you understood this slide. Now moving on next, fruit ripening. Okay, so this is a very common thing that we all know that in ripening process phytohormone ethylene is involved. Okay, so what does a ripening involve? Involves, there is some important points you should know. The first thing is that the raw hard green colored fruits get converted into mature, soft, sweeter, yellow and colored fruits. But how this transformation occurs? For this transformation, ethylene is required, or I must say ethylene induces the transformation process in ripening. Okay, so the ripening process usually take around 24 hours to a week. Okay, I have also given here a symbol like this. This is because when the fruit starts ripening, ethylene induces its own synthesis. Means what? Ethylene induces its ethylene itself tries to increase its own concentration. Okay, so now the second thing here is ethylene to be effective in its function requires a copper containing metalloprotein. Okay, you are going to see the importance of copper in the signaling process. Here I have mentioned in short. When it is present in complex form, it activates a respiratory process. Okay, the respiratory process in plants where carbon dioxide concentration is going to be higher. Okay, and due to this, the food materials and organic acids that are present in plant cells are going to oxidize and decarboxylation also occurs. As so the thing you should always remember is that the ethylene induces the expression of genes that are involved in degradative process or oxidation processes. Okay, now There are generally two stages in fruit ripening. One is climacteric state and another one is non-climacteric state. Climacteric state is observed when large amount of ethylene is present in the fruit, and when little concentration of ethylene is present, it is considered as a non-climacteric state. You can see here the examples. Okay, now moving on here, you will see that with the maturity of fruit, the synthesis of ethylene is induced, and ethylene induces more ethylene production, as I have already told you in the previous slide. Second point is, during early part of ripening process, ethylene initiates a cascade of events which follow one after another and end up in a climacteric state at which all biochemical reactions are at their maximum efficiency. Okay, so what mentioned here is, when the ripening process is at its spike, when ethylene concentration is also high, we are at the climacteric state. Okay, and you can see in the graph, when there is climacteric state, there is excess increase in the CO2 at particular time, and when the increase in CO2, when there is increase in CO2, there is also a spike increase in ethylene concentration. Okay, so this is about the climacteric concept. The second thing is that as the respiratory activity is reaching its climax, ethylene simultaneously affects the membrane permeability and also activates a set of genes, resulting in the synthesis of specific mRNAs. On translation of these mRNAs, specific proteins such as pectinase and cellulase are produced. The enzymes then act on the middle wall and primary wall to loosen up the cells, thus render the hard fruit into soft fruit. In short, due to the high carbon dioxide concentration, there is also increase in ethylene simultaneously, and now ethylene will induce expression of enzymes that are involved in ripening process. Okay, you can see here in the presence of ethylene there is expression of various genes, for example hydrolase, that is going to take out the hydrolysis of the cell wall, then pectinase, kinase, amylase, hydrolase. Okay, so these are the enzymes that are going to convert the unripe fruit into ripe fruit. Okay, so ethylene is going to induce the expression of such genes that are going to transcribe and translate into the product that are involved in such translation. Okay, so I hope you understood it well. Then moving on, next there is a regulatory part, that is regulation of color break in fruits. As we observe daily that the tomatoes which are green in color get converted into red color. Okay, so what actually happens, the external ripening is dependent upon the conversion of chloro to chromoplast. We all know that there is presence of chlorophyll, a green pigment, and that green pigment is converted into chromoplast. Okay, second thing is the loss of chlorophyll and gain of carotenoids, thereby changing peel from green to orange. Okay, now study it. Now we will study it through a chart or through a diagram. So when there is winter conditions, when the temperature is low and short day, the chloroplast undergoes degreening to chromoplast. Okay, chloroplast get degreened and converts into chromoplast. Okay, the presence of ethylene and carbohydrate induces this process, and also a prerequisite is low nitrogen content. Okay, and when there is a spring season, when the temperature is higher, when high nitrogen and high gibberellin concentration is present in plant, the process reverts back and the chromoplast is regreened to chloroplast. Okay, so this is about the color break in fruits. The second thing is effect on apical dominance. We all know apical meristem is the actively dividing portion of a plant that induces the plant to grow in upward direction and where active division occurs. Okay, and apical meristem is the region where oxygen synthesis is maximum. Okay, and when the oxygen is synthesized at the apical terminal, it translocates downwards. Okay, also in leaves oxygen synthesis is observed, which which after synthesis move toward the nodal part and accumulate in higher concentration. Now, as we have already studied that oxygen concentration induces ethylene production, now ethylene gets synthesized here. Okay, and once ethylene is produced, as we know it is a gaseous product, it diffuses out into lateral parts. Okay, and when it diffuses out in lateral part, it causes the inhibition, or it inhibits the growth. Okay, as you can see here, it diffuses into lateral bud and inhibits the growth. Means what is happening here, that there is inhibition, or there is lateral bud inhibition. Okay, but this inhibition can also be reverted when you apply cytokinin. Okay, cytokinin removes the mitotic block that is imposed by ethylene and activates the cell division, and therefore the lateral buds grows into branches. Till now we are already knowing that in lateral inhibition oxygen plays important role, but along with oxygen there is also importance of ethylene in this process. The next thing is the effect on geotropic movements. Okay, geotropic movements mean the movement towards gravity. Okay, so ethylene is a product that is induced by higher concentration of oxygen, brings about a reverse of geotropic curvatures called ageotropic effects. Okay, so ethylene brings about ageotropic effects, that is against the gravity, where roots, instead of growing downwards into the soil, it curls upwards. Okay, and in fact ethylene treated roots lose their sense of directional growth. Okay, so it is stated very clearly that ethylene is working against gravity and it causes the curling of the roots upwards. Okay, so it is a simple point. And the fourth point that I have mentioned is about the ethereal compound or echepone. Okay, so echepone is a compound that degrades or it decomposes rapidly into ethylene. Okay, so when you are working in plant tissue culture and if you require ethylene, you can prefer with echepone. It is also known as 2-chloroethyl phosphonic acid, which degrades rapidly to ethylene. Okay, when these compounds are applied to plants in solution form, they release ethylene, which in turn brings about its effect. Okay, so why this product is in market? The reason is because we can weigh it, we can use it even in sensitive concentrations when you require even the minimal concentration of ethylene. If you go with direct ethylene, you will have to prefer ethylene glycol, and the process of ethylene gas is very much different. Okay, so you can prefer ethereal for your plant tissue culture protocols. Okay, so I hope you understood well till here, and if still you are having any kind of doubt or any kind of questions in your mind regarding ethylene, you can comment in the comment section, and if you are having something more to tell about ethylene, still you can comment. That will be really beneficial to the learners as well as me. In the upcoming video, in the next video, I am going to tell regarding the signaling process of ethylene that occurs in plants. Okay, thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.